Hi, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of Diamond Effect Podcast. And today I have one of my clients with me, Glory Lichon, who is a very passionate business owner, is doing a lot of good in the world, helping kids and their parents with therapy. But I will let Glory introduce herself and tell you more about her business and who she is and what she does. Welcome, Glory. Thanks for being with me here.
Thank you, Maggie. And thank you again for the opportunity to be here on your podcast and kind of share my story and also kind of help to inspire other women on their business journey. My name is Glory, and I am the owner of GlowBright Therapy. I'm actually started as a speech language pathologist, and I decided to start a business in 2013, not 2013. I graduated in 2013, but I started the business in 2019. So really our mission with GlowBright Therapy is to help provide compassionate, accessible, and effective speech language therapy and occupational therapy services throughout the United States. And we do have a few international families that we help support too. And our focus is really to help provide accessible services for early intervention. So helping kids that are birthed to 3 years old really receive that opportunity to have services that not only helps them, but also empowers and supports the parents. And we really also focus in on helping to support families of children with autism. And we do that all online. So we're able to be in the home and provide the services there with the families being able to be part of that intervention, because that's really such an important piece, is to help empower the parents along the journey.
Yeah, and I think that's great because I guess as parents, sometimes when we have a child that requires some specialistic help, right? We feel so helpless. Like we want to help them, but we can't. And then, in your case, you're also empowering the parents so then they can help the children in between, I guess, therapy session, which I think it's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And that makes such a difference because, like you said, they're only, they're with us maybe once or twice a week, but the parents are really such a big part of their child's life. And then we're able to be able to support them along the way so they don't feel lost and stressed and can feel empowered to support their kids at home.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, if you want to share a little bit of the backstory behind your business, because you have a very inspiring story as to, how you've been started and how everything unfolded. So, if you wouldn't mind spending a couple of minutes talking about it, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to keep it a little bit short, not too long. But so originally, this is my second career because I was in the Air Force. I'm an Air Force veteran. And then I always felt passionate about helping others. So I knew in my journey of figuring out whatever career I go into, it always has to involve helping others. And when I graduated, I was a school therapist in the schools for 5 years. And there, I learned a lot and had a great experience, but there was always that feeling of not being connected to the parents and not being able to support them along the way, because usually you only see the parents once or twice a year. And during that time in the schools, I really felt the burnout happen too because of large caseloads and not having the flexibility that I wanted in my career as being a single mom at the time, having to travel an hour back and forth to the school that I was working at. So there wasn't a lot of flexibility and there was a lot of burnout happening early on in my second career as a speech language therapist. And then in 2018, I decided to leave the schools and become an independent contractor with a few other companies that were offering teletherapy. But in the meantime, my now husband encouraged me to start GlowBright Therapy during that process of transitioning out of the schools. He was really like, oh, you do all of these things on your own. You're a great therapist. And why don't you just start your own practice and, help the kids the way you want to help them? And that way we can include the parents and things like that. So he really is the one that helped to encourage me to start the practice and become a businesswoman, because I know, like I said, I always had the passion of helping others, but I never thought of myself as a businesswoman or an entrepreneur and, all of the things that happen with having to have that mindset of starting a business. But he gave me the courage and is actually my business partner. So we own GlowBright Therapy together. So in 2019, we officially launched the business in April and started GlowBright Therapy with one client. Like 2 months later, we had our first clients, and then like 6 months later, COVID happened. So we're starting all of this in the middle of a pandemic, only like 6 to 8 months into the business. But he, continued to encourage me, and then we also had that vision for our business is really, that vision, mission, and purpose is so important. Even when the difficult times come, you have to continue with that, because things happen, pandemics happen, life happens, but always keeping that in mind, that our vision, mission, and purpose is to provide accessible, compassionate, effective therapy services that also empower the parents. So we've just continued on our journey, and thankfully this past year I connected with you during my overwhelm, and you helped me so much this year really in our growth and scaling our business, because that's where we were earlier this year, and that all of the different things that come along when your business is growing and scaling, that's like a totally different mindset that you have to have, and you've helped me so much with that.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. That's a great segue, because you're right. Like, I remember when we started, I think in March, right? You were overwhelmed because the business started to take on, and you were having, more clients in a way that you could service, right? So you're working a lot. But if we take this year, so since January, I think by now your business income almost doubled, right? In terms of gross income. And then, I always say, and that, in order for the business to grow, you need to grow yourself first as a leader of your business. And that's so true, even by looking at your journey and how you've grown. So I want to know from your perspective, because I have my perspective, right, as a coach helping you through it. But I want to hear from your perspective, where are those biggest points of growth for you over the past few months, and challenges that you had to overcome in order to grow there? And how it felt and so on. So if you can pick a few, and let's have a conversation about that.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when I met you in the networking group that we were in, I was already, like, in January, I felt overwhelmed and just trying to figure out what the overwhelm was. And I always have that belief of, getting mentorship and coaching is important as a businesswoman, or even, just in your personal life. So as soon as I connected with you on the networking group, for some reason I felt connected to you. I can see your motivation and wanting to help other women through their business and leadership journey. But it took me a couple months to try to figure out what is my next step for coaching, because I wasn't to group coaching for private practices before, and another one for business. So once I figured out that I just needed something, and you were providing that one-on-one coaching for business and leadership and high performance coaching, I feel like I figured out that's what I needed. My next step was in growth and scaling, is I needed someone that's, one-on-one, that can help me with my leadership skills, and, how can I continue to become a high performance business woman, and just also, and, I think that also plays into your personal life too, and how you can do all the things and have that harmony or balance in your life. So I was struggling with wanting to keep a small team. That was one of my biggest struggles, is I didn't want to grow a large team, because I wanted to keep it small and like a family. But like you said, I was getting a lot of clients, and that I kept having to take on because the other therapists couldn't. So once I talked to you and we started our coaching, you really helped me with that mindset of, it's okay to grow a bigger team. This is what you want. You want to be able to serve others, but more than what you were serving, but you can't do it all on your own. So you helped me figure out that it's not a bad thing, not to be scared of it. Because really that's what it was. I was scared to have a bigger team and not know what was going to happen with so many therapists, and my leadership skills and how to support them, and things like that. So that's one main or a huge hurdle that I had that you really helped me through was to break through that mindset of it's okay. This is the next step, let's
Mhm.
have a bigger team, and then helping me with the leadership skills really helped me to grow our team.
So how does it help you now? Because I don't actually remember how many therapists you had when we started, but it sort of, I don't know, did it double? Is it
Mhm.
more?
Yeah, so including me, I think altogether around the March timeframe, we had like 7,
Mhm.
and we actually now have altogether we have like 17, and we actually added another discipline, which is
Mhm.
the occupational therapy, because we originally started with just
Right.
speech language therapy, since that was
Right.
my discipline that I knew and was experienced in, and then we just added occupational therapy. So yeah, right now we have 17, so I
17.
guess it's over
It's
doubled.
more than double.
um yeah, and you helped me along the way with preparing for the growth, not just thinking about it in the moment. Is like, let's have these therapists ready to go for the continued growth and the
Right.
referrals that we're getting. And how can we project that for the future? So I'm already prepared, instead of, having to take on the clients myself all
Right.
the time and not being ready for that.
Right. Right. So there's a great 2 points here. So like the first thing I want to ask you is that like building your capacity to lead more people, because sometimes we think like, oh, that having 7 people is already
Mhm,
overwhelming. Therefore, our brain gives us or makes us think that if I double or more, that
mhm,
that number is going to be double or more issues, right? Or
mhm,
challenges. And yes, that can be true if you do that with the current level of skill and thinking, right? Then that's, yeah, the issues and so on will double. But when you grow your capacity in
mhm,
terms of how you look at this, the leadership and so on, that may be not necessarily the case. And that's what I wanted to ask you from
mhm.
your perspective. Well, how does it feel now when you have a team of 17 as opposed to how it felt having a team of 7 without the skills that you've learned, over the past few months? So I just want the, listeners to hear that and then kind of like your perspective on it.
Yeah, so I think it actually um hasn't been overwhelming. I think sometimes what can be overwhelming, since I am like the main contact right now for everybody when they have questions, but I think
Mhm.
overall, like, there's it's not a lot of issues that are coming up.
Mhm.
Really, it's just helping us to be able to have greater impact and
Mhm.
providing the therapy services and having the people that can provide those services and make therapy accessible, because we have that bigger team. I was going to say the reason there's not a lot of issues is because of the two other things that you helped me a lot with this year. So not only the leadership skills, but also my CEO mindset, because in creating a bigger team, you really have to step more into that CEO
Mhm.
role. And my goal was to be able to lead the team, not just be the main therapist anymore.
Mhm.
So having that CEO mindset has helped me transition more into the CEO role, and also the systems that you helped me
Mhm.
build. So I think like the three main things when I think about all of the progress that I've been able to make this year with having that one-on-one coaching with you, is the leadership, the CEO mindset, and the system. So I think
Mhm.
really that's what's helped us grow and scale. So having those systems in place. Remember, you helped me a lot with figuring out how to write this standard operating procedures,
Mhm.
which aren't always like the most fun thing to do, but it's a
No, for
necessary
sure.
thing to do. It takes a lot of time and effort, but I think you helping me to realize, this is important, because having a bigger team, everybody needs to be on the same page,
Mhm.
following those procedures.
Mhm.
And that way I'm not answering also the same question a
Yeah.
hundred times. Everything's set in place. So you've helped me develop
Mhm.
those and have that organization of how to
Mhm.
create them and like roll them out for the team. And then also the CEO mindset of, I am the CEO, I am the
Mhm.
leader, the visionary of the company. And and that part, you really do have to grow that mindset. Is not just, I'm not the
Mhm.
therapist, I'm not a solo entrepreneur anymore. We have a team and an
Yeah.
organization, and building that mindset of wanting to grow and wanting to continue to scale. And how do we do that? How do we prepare for that? Like thinking ahead of time, not just in the moment. So I think
That's
that
right.
helps me a lot too. Yeah, not just thinking of it as it happens, but like, how do we
Mhm,
prepare for it? How do we
mhm,
prepare for the growth, and how do we continue to lead? And having that mindset, I think, is really, I feel like a lot of things in life are about mindset. And I think
yeah.
that's really key in growing and scaling a business, is that
Mhm,
mindset of being able to lead your team, and also is continuing to be the
mhm,
visionary of
mhm.
the company.
Well, because you're right, like you actually said it an important thing. Like the faster we will grow, the faster our business and ourselves when we actually look ahead, right? And not
Yeah.
just focus on the problem at hand or what we need to do at hand. Of course, we need to be present when we sort of are in the execution of the plan, but the decisions we make for that plan need to happen when we think enough far ahead to have perspective, enough far ahead to realize that whatever we might be doing now need to change soon in order for us to grow. Like, for example, what we're talking about, the fact that your team is growing. Now we're thinking about hiring a manager, right? Whether it's an administrative manager or team manager, somebody who will provide that support, like a day-to-day operational support for your team, because you need to continue being the CEO, right? And the visionary, and keep growing your business, if that's of course your vision, which it is, right? So,
Mhm.
but when you don't have that far ahead perspective, you get bogged down by the questions, about everything that's
Mhm.
coming in and so on. And you just, like, your brain keeps thinking, well, okay, that it has to be that way. There's no other way.
Mhm.
Therefore, I cannot grow, because if I add more people, that means more questions, more things, right? And another thing that you mentioned were those processes. Yeah, it's not fun to write things. Like, I don't
Mhm.
think majority of people are not gonna have a lot of fun thinking through the processes and pulling stuff out of their brain, because they think, well, I don't have time for it. You know, it's faster for me to do it. But again, once you start scaling and you start adding people, if you don't do it, then you have to do it every single time you add a person, right? If I don't have a process and I need to train a
Mhm.
person, I need to use my brain 10 times, 17 times, whatever, a week or two to train those people. When I have a process, a training and so on, I do it once, and then people that come in can use it, and that allows, for them to have a better experience as they onboard, and for me to keep my sanity and then use
Mhm.
my time better doing other things and so on and so forth. So that's, definitely you mentioned like very important points there.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely helped to have that organization and the processes and procedures that everybody can follow.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
I think too, even though that's taken time, I feel like that's, part of being the CEO, is figuring out, what needs to come out of your head into a
Yeah.
process and procedure document that you can share with your team. Because then that way everybody, like I said, is on the same page, and everybody follows the same, way of
Mhm.
doing things. And then you're not always answering the same question
Yeah.
over and over, and it's not just stuck in your head, especially if you're thinking of scaling your
Mhm.
business.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be following that
Yeah.
organizational process.
Yeah, and another thing that comes to my mind, like the more you allow yourself, right? So again, to pull away from the day-to-day of the business and be the
Mhm.
CEO, then the ideas start coming, how I can
Yeah.
grow and so on, because that also happened to you, right? Like there was more and more
Mhm.
opportunities coming for growth, and you were able to notice them
Mhm.
and accommodate for them because of that. And not only opportunities in expanding the current business, like the current services that you do, but also expanding the services that you
Mhm.
provide, right? So going from speech therapy to also occupational therapy and so on. And I think that that also allowed you to do it too, because you had space, right? You had space to think,
Right.
you had space to and time to even see that it's,
Mhm.
hey, like, this conversation happened or that opportunity happened. And of course we can do it, because now I see the path, I see the how I can do it.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. And then I feel like when I first connected with you, I was at around 25 to 30 sessions a week of
Mhm.
like just therapy. And then plus, consultations and still having meetings with, making new connections and things like that. And then, with building our systems, my leadership skills, and the CEO mindset, I've been able to go down to 10 sessions a week. And that gives me so much more time, like you said, to give me
Mhm.
that space to be the visionary, to, think about what are our next steps, how can we grow, what do we need within our team to continue that growth. And it has given me time to write the SOPs that we talked about, because that, does take time to get everything out of your head.
Mhm.
And then also one important thing that I want to add was within that CEO mindset is it's given me time to look at our numbers, to look at the key performance indicators, which I always thought, I think I told you that before, I didn't think I was a numbers girl, or I didn't
Mhm.
like looking at these things, but it was really that I just didn't have time for them because I was so busy with, doing therapy and
Mhm.
still doing all the consultations and the meetings for building those relationships. And now every Friday, I have what I call my finance Fridays. I look at, all of our key performance indicators, and I know how many clients we have. I know how many cancellations we have. I know our revenue
Mhm.
for the week and our monthly revenue. Before, I felt like, I would do that every now and then, but I didn't have a consistent way of keeping
Mhm.
track. And that's keeping track of those have really been able to help me make the decisions, like data-driven decisions of
Mhm.
what are our next steps, because I know what our numbers are. And I know a lot of times people say that, and they're, when you don't have time for it, you're like, oh, well, does that really matter? Or, is that going to make a difference? But it really does when you have the time to do that and really look at, what's going on in your
Mhm.
business. What those numbers can help you move forward
Yeah. It
further.
it does, and that's the thing that, like as you say, those key performer indicators, it's not only the financials, but also knowing what impacts those
Mhm.
financials, right? And then making the decisions based on that. And it's great that you bring that, because again, our brain likes to tell us like, oh, I don't like something, or I'm not good at it, just because we don't understand it enough yet, or
Mhm.
we just don't have time, right? So instead of, like, our brain won't tell us like, hey Maggie, I know you don't have time, but it's so important, so you need to make time and create that space and use the energy that I don't want to use, right? Our brain will say, no, 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 you don't have time, that's too much energy, therefore don't like it, right? It just comes up with like the simplest excuse that will keep us away from doing it. um but then when we realize like, hey, when we get that inclination or get a little bit of push or help to either create time or both, right? Or learn a little bit to understand, right? What are the numbers that I need to look at, why they're important, and then also understand that it's not like high level math, right? Like
Right.
those
It's
are
not
just simple things that
calculus.
anybody who went through like primary school and can
Mhm.
add and deduct and some basic stuff, you understand, right? So it's nothing very complicated,
Mhm.
how helpful it can be. And that's like with any skill, right? So
Mhm.
that's a great point.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what helps me know that we are ready to hire a manager soon, because
Mhm.
I know what our numbers look like, how they've been growing and
Right.
what revenue we have to be able to afford that manager position, or the second virtual assistant position that we're also looking into. So all of
Mhm.
that, having that data within the past few months lets us know that we can afford that, and it's time for that. So
Mhm.
it's really helpful to make,
Mhm.
as they say, like data-driven decisions
Yeah.
with looking at your KPIs, not just like guessing
Yeah.
what they are, or like not really knowing
Yeah.
and just kind of doing things but not having that data behind it. And it also helps you be more intentional and strategic in
Exactly.
what you're doing, because when you have
Exactly.
that information, that lets you know how you can move forward.
Yeah, and that's a also great point. Being intentional and time your moves in your business so much better, right? Because then you're not doing things maybe too early when you're not ready yet, right? And maybe putting too much strain of your business, but you're also not making decisions too late because, let's say financial or numbers are such a mess that you can't even figure it out. So you're delaying necessary decisions or changes in your business because of that, right? So when you have order and understanding of what's going on, then you can make, decisions that you need to make as fast as possible, because the faster you make them, the sooner you prepare for the growth. Because you mentioned that, right? That we change the pattern from, okay, I'm growing, but I haven't even accommodated for that growth. Therefore, it's so much overwhelming to no. I prepare for growth, I take it, and then I prepare for the next level and I take it and so on. It's so much healthier this way, right? And so much more sane and
Yeah.
less stressful.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like sometimes I'm like, why am I not so stressed anymore? So, because we're used to having that mindset of always being busy or always being stressed out about something. But, really putting these things in place with everything that we've worked on this year together, I feel like I can handle things much easier and I'm not as stressed. I know like I can figure it out if something does happen, but usually we're prepared for whatever happens, or it's something like not as hectic because we have those systems in place and we have the team in place versus being kind of all over the place and not being prepared. So I feel like it just really helps you, just be more kind of at peace as you're growing your business. Obviously things are always going to come up and
Yeah.
it's not going to be perfect 100% of the time, but also having that mindset of knowing that you are going to have to figure things out. But if you have those systems in place and the team in place, it just helps you not be so overwhelmed all the time, which I felt like I was around the time that we met,
Yeah. Yeah.
and overwhelmed most of
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
Even though I had the virtual assistant, that did help some. But I just as we grew, it was just kind of overwhelming because I didn't have systems in place. I didn't have, I had some in place, but not like I do now, where I had the time to do the standard operating procedures and have that leadership mindset and everything. And one thing too that you helped me with in that CEO mindset is being okay with not being busy all the time. That's what we
Yeah.
talk about a lot, that we feel as women or, just people in general, we feel like our time always has to be taken up with doing, but really being the CEO, you need that space to have that creative space to think of what's your next step, what
Yeah.
is your vision, how can you continue moving your vision, mission and purpose forward. And like you always say, our time, our value isn't in our time. It's not, we don't have to work 20 hours a day to provide the value in our business. Our value comes from having the vision and being able to have the time to move the vision forward,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
doesn't being
Yeah.
busy 20 hours
Yes.
of your
Yes. Yes. The value comes from our thinking and what we create through that thinking, not the amount of time we put into it, right? Like again, as we spoke, like there could be somebody creating a value in a week than another person will create in a year, working so much longer and so on. And just because of the perspective and again, right, execution plan, whatever, many different things. But that's a great point. So, and then through that, because that also, like as you say, being able to see that, hey, I don't need to work 24/7 to grow the business. And that being able to experience that when I actually spend time thinking about the future and how I can implement the vision and being strategic and being creative, how that progresses the business, it also gives you confidence. And I know I told you that in a couple of sessions ago that I really noticed like that one session, I don't know, maybe that was a different angle and I got to see you through some a little bit more, your body language, how much more confident you were in terms of, how you carry yourself, how you talk about your business and so on. So I also want to hear that because I think when we're recording this podcast in the beginning of October, but when it comes out, it will be actually like right after I'm planning to create a webinar on confidence and run a webinar on confidence. So it will be right after that. So, in thematically it matches, but
Mm.
I want to just ask you, how does that feel for you? Like, do you feel that? Like, I can see it, but my
Mhm.
question is, I guess, do you feel it yourself? And how does that compare to, again, maybe where you were a few months back even?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when I set my vision board, I put 150 clients and like $300,000 in revenue, and
Mhm,
thinking that working on my visualization and knowing that I can reach this goal, but it was still kind of scary. Like I
mhm,
didn't, I still kind of questioned it, like, oh, can we reach? Because I think at the time I met you, we were probably at almost 60 clients.
mhm,
But I think with all of the things that we've worked on, like I said, leadership, CEO mindset systems that have really helped us to scale and grow the business, I know that we're getting there, and we're already at almost 150 clients, and
mhm,
it's the start of the third quarter. Um, so having all of those things in place has shown how much I can grow when and not being overwhelmed. So it's like you really can create that business that you want and love and has purpose and impact
mhm,
when you have those systems in place and that mindset and that confidence that you can do it. So I feel like I don't worry as much about
mhm,
not having clients or what's going to happen with the team or being an overwhelm or what if I can't do this. I just know like I'm going to figure it out. Like even if something
mhm,
comes up, it's okay. Like we have systems in place that helps us be efficient. And I guess I haven't mentioned that in our conversation today, but those systems really help with the operational
mhm,
excellence and
mhm,
efficiency that you really um, have shown me how to
mhm,
carry that forward with GlowBright Therapy. So I feel like we're always striving for that, that operational excellence and giving that impact through the communities that we serve. So I always have that confidence within myself that I have set these things in place, and I know we're going to accomplish whatever goal we set. And our mission
yeah,
really is to have impact and serving others. So just in that growth, I know that we're going to continue to do that.
yeah,
Um, in that
yeah,
I've done
yeah.
this.
That's awesome. But that's truly like it's just shows that that's how it works, right? That like confidence. I have those three steps in the webinar that I taught that, it starts always with a belief in our capability that we're capable
Mm.
to do it, right? And that's what you did in the beginning of the year. You created the vision board and so on. You may have not seen yet how, and that's where the fear came in and so on, but you were like, I can do this. Like, I want to do this. This is my vision, my passion, right? So, like, we always need to start there because, of course, if you don't believe in our capability, well, we'll never start, right? Like, it just won't happen. But then what's important is reflect back and realize, okay, well, if I look at this and then I don't know how, or I'm like, I'm scared. Well, there's something I'm missing. Like there's growth
Right.
that I need to go through and then take action towards that growth, like make that growth happen, right? Which you did. Like, hey,
Mm.
we worked together, we started working together and so on. And then once you do that, well, you start implementing, right? So like when we coach, it's not like we're coaching on theoretical stuff and then you learn as at school and you pass a test. No, right? Like we work on something, we expand perspective or skill, and then you go and implement it in your business. And
Mhm.
then that delivers results
Right.
that are, you know, confirming and bringing you closer to the vision, even though there's challenges along the line, right? Like you had some employees you were trying to hire and it didn't work out or it took longer than you thought. Like there were little challenges along the way that that's normal. But
Mhm.
then as it becomes reality, then I think like that belief, it's like, of course my vision is going to happen because I see exactly happening, and then my skill set and capacity is expanding. So as you said, I know I'll figure it out because I'm
Mhm.
figuring it out, therefore of course I can. Right. And then it just builds up on that confidence and it's just showing beautifully in sort
Yeah.
of your case. This.
Yeah, and like I never thought, even when I put, like I said, 300,000 and 150 clients,
Mhm,
I still wasn't like 100% sure how we were going to reach that or,
mhm,
what steps I was going to take. But then now I'm like, oh, well, now we can reach 1 million in
Yeah.
revenue, we can reach 500 clients a week. And why not? That's only creates more impact. And I never thought I would think of, I can build $1 million company. And, not just for the money. I always say I did have to work on my money mindset,
Mhm.
because as a helping person, you don't always think of, having money. But now it's like, okay, why not build a business that can reach
Mhm.
$1 million and have great impact, but also that serves me and my family and builds wealth and, helps my kids have
Yeah.
the things that they need and can build their generational, build generational wealth and things like that. Why, if we're doing something good
Mhm.
in the world, it can, also
Yeah.
pay us for the effort and service that we're doing. So now I'm like, okay, the next step is $1 million. So it's like,
Yes.
I never thought I would
Yes.
say that before, but now I know I have the skills and the mindset and the,
Mhm.
systems in place that can get us there and have that great impact that I would like to continue building in the communities and families that we serve.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that's like, again, amazing thing because that's so true, right? That as we grow and expand, and it first happens within us, and then with our business, then we see what's possible. We
Mhm.
truly see, right? In the beginning, it's so hard to see because whether you're overwhelmed, depending on your position, or whether you're struggling to like gain clients and so on, depending on where you are in your business, it's so hard to see past that when you're not growing yourself. But once you do, like that's the thing, then you
Yeah.
start seeing all those possibilities and really believing that it's possible, right?
Mhm.
Because you've started the proof or the circle of proof that, yeah, of course, right? I'm doing it. It's already happening. It's
Mhm.
just a matter of time, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the patience and taking action. I feel like that's important
Yeah.
for
Of
everyone
course.
to remember, even though if you have a coach or a group coaching or one-on-one, like,
Oh, yeah.
know that like you helped me so much, but it's like I still have to,
Of course.
take that
Of
intentional
course.
action, follow through with what we talk about and,
Of
and
course.
take those steps, not just put it all on you as my coach. Really we have to look within ourselves and take that
Yeah.
consistent action in our business. So
Of course. And that's a great point because as you're right, like you can learn anything, either it's from a coach or from whatever. But then if you let your brain dismiss this, because sometimes our brain wants to do it, it's like, oh, I need to put effort and I don't want to do it and so on. And then you continue doing whatever you're doing, right? Even though you have the knowledge, well, that's not going to help, right? Knowledge is power only if you implement it. And like without action, like action, yes, it always starts with the mindset, but without action, the mindset itself is not going to create anything,
mhm.
right? So there is that implementation and that's all on you, right? Like
Mhm.
coach cannot do it for you.
Right. Yeah.
Like this is all on you. So
Yeah.
that's 100%, right?
Yeah. I just said that to my daughter today. She has to do these things for herself. No, I can't do that for her.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, is there anything else that maybe you want to add or maybe you want to expand on your like longer term plans and so on that we haven't covered before we finish?
Yeah, well, like I said, now that I have this like newly gained confidence in how we can
Mhm.
grow, and I know that with these systems and the operational excellence and the CEO mindset and leadership skills, I would like to continue building a multidisciplinary practice. So I know we had talked about it a little bit before, adding physical therapy, so we'll
Mhm.
be able to have kind of everything in one place through our practice with speech, language therapy, occupational therapy, and physical therapy, because a lot of
Mhm.
the kids in early intervention show developmental needs in every developmental area, and that would help, get the services for them
Mhm.
through our services. And then also kids with autism, often have sensory needs, language and communication needs, gross
Mhm.
motor needs, so that it would be great if we can help provide all of those services within our practice. And then I'm also hoping to start my course that I
Mhm.
know I put off initially. We talked when I first met Maggie, we talked about it, and she helped me realize that really building the team is what's going to help us create the impact and be able to serve the clients, not focusing on a course, which sometimes, our coach might say something we don't necessarily agree with or
Mhm.
don't like to hear. And not that I didn't like to hear, I just, it was something I wanted to do. But then she helped me realize, we have all of these referrals. Why would I focus so much on the course right now when building the team is what's necessary? So
Mhm.
having that shift and my focus has, I mean, like I said, we've grown like 100 plus clients since we
Mhm.
started working together, and our revenue has doubled just in within 6 months.
Mhm.
So then the next step is the course and adding, and really is to help provide service, or not services, direct services, but support and
Mhm.
empowerment to parents that can't either get services and, whatever country they are in, or that are on long wait lists that we can't support for some reason, helping them to have those strategies that they can use
Mhm.
at home to build language and
Mhm.
communication. So those are my next two big things, is in expanding, adding the course, and then adding another discipline.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome. And then I remember our conversations about the course, but like imagine creating it in the midst of like growing your business and doing the SOPs and trying
right,
to, grow the team to accommodate for the clients that we're helping. And now that you're coming into the space where you actually created the time for yourself to keep growing the business. It's not like it's going to stop, but like being able to keep growing the business and now having enough space and time to actually focus on the course. Like imagine how much I think easier and pleasurable it will be and how much better the course will be in the end,
right.
right?
Yeah, definitely that would have been, I was already overwhelmed. So then it's like, why add something else that was going
Mhm.
to add even more overwhelming? Maybe I couldn't give all, my all
Mhm.
to developing the course, and,
Mhm.
maybe it wouldn't be as good initially because I was so overwhelmed. So, definitely we need to kind of sometimes step back and not
Mhm.
put so many things on ourselves and really focus on, what's important and what's going to make a difference and have that impact
Right.
that you're wanting to
Yeah.
create. So yeah, thank you for helping me with so many things. Like I said, I love um, that we were able to connect early this year, and that we
Mhm.
were able to, work together, and that you've helped me so much in my leadership skills. I think in building a bigger team, you really do need those leadership skills, and that CEO mindset of, having the
Mhm.
vision, creating the space, and being able to have the impact that you really want out in the world. And
Mhm.
all of those things take, learning and time and self-awareness and mindfulness. So yeah, I feel like you help with so many of those things, and
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
there's
grateful.
always that's the whole thing. Like, again, once we really make an effort and put intention to grow yourself, it always impacts so many
Mhm.
things. And it's hard to explain and it's hard to feel, but, you can focus on, growing your business because that's ultimately, as a business coach, I help my clients. But in order to do that, where you grow, it starts impacting other areas of your life
Mhm.
positively, right? And that's the whole goal. And that's the beauty of it. Like
Right.
even for
Yeah.
me, right? When I see my clients like improving overall quality of their life, not just growth of their business, that's for me,
Mhm.
that's like the greatest impact. So how do people can find you? So if somebody knows somebody who or has a child, right, that has the needs that requires speech therapy or even you're starting occupational therapy, right? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so they can find us. The easiest way is probably just to go to our website. It's glowbrighttherapy.com, and
Mhm.
that's GLOWBRIGHT, and then therapy.com. And that's where you can find a little bit more information about us and our services. And you can contact me and book a free consultation. I'm always happy to connect with families that, they have a few questions or are interested in
Mhm.
services and what the next steps are. I'm always happy to connect there. And then we do have Instagram and Facebook. So we can put that, like I
Yeah.
said, we can share that in the show notes.
Yeah.
But the easiest way is just go through our website, glowbrighttherapy.com.
Yep. So as Glory said, we'll put the website and all the social media links in the show notes. So if you want to connect with Glory and talk to her or see more about what they do, services, and their mission vision, you can go there. Thank you so much, Glory, for being here and coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maggie, and thank you for being my coach. And I always appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Bye.
Bye.